2012. Professor Ahmet Davutoğlu is a Turkish academic, politician, and a former diplomat who was the Prime Minister of Turkey and leader of the Justice and Development Party from August 2014 to May 2016. He previously served as the Minister of Foreign Affairs from 2009 to 2014. He was elected as a Member of Parliament for Konya in the 2011 general election and was re-elected as an MP in both June and November 2015 general elections. We are honored to have you with us here, Your Excellency, today to deliver the Baki Marka commemoration lecture on multiculturalism as a basis for peace. Sir, this invitation is for you.
Venerable Mahasangha, honorable ministers, opposition leaders, members of the parliament, Brother Imtiaz and Bakir Markar family members and members of the foundation, ladies and gentlemen, Ayubowan. Good evening for all. First of all, I want to express my gratitude to Bakir Markar Foundation because of inviting me for such a meaningful occasion, 20th commemoration lecture. And the topic was so important, not only for Sri Lanka, for Turkey, for all humanity, multiculturalism as a base for peace. When I received the invitation from Brother Imtiaz, I instructed my team that I want to go to Sri Lanka for several reasons. First, I promised my dear colleague, Honorable Prime Minister, last year in Davos that I would be coming to Sri Lanka as early as possible. But because of several hectic programs, I was not able to come when I was Prime Minister. But if you promise something, you have to fulfill. So I decided to come. I had a special interest on Sri Lanka for different reasons. First of all, as an academician, I was interested, especially in this part of the world, to understand civilizational transformation. When I completed my PhD thesis, 1990, I received offers for academic positions from several American universities. But I decided to go to Malaysia in order to teach and in order to establish a first department of political science in Malaysia. Why Malaysia? Because I wanted to be in an environment of multiculturalism. It was not only teaching, it was also learning from the social environment of Malaysia. Malaysia was a Muslim majority country, Buddhists were living the minority, and Hindus were there. I taught in a Muslim, there were Chinese but also Muslim university. I was living in a Buddhist environment. All of my neighbors were Buddhist, Chinese Buddhists. And we were attending all Hindu festivals. It was like a learning process for me, a new horizon. When I received the invitation, I told to my wife and my daughters, my family, we will be going together. I want you to see a real multicultural atmosphere in Sri Lanka. It will be a learning process for you. And I came here with my daughters, granddaughters, and in last 4 days, it was the best education they had in their life. So first, for multiculturalism, and even for the human history, Sri Lanka and this region is like a laboratory. You have to understand. We have to know that history did not flow in Europe forever. We have to know that history of different civilizations emerged in different parts of the world. Unfortunately, Eurocentric illusion, let me say, created such a paradigm of history as if all the other nations are periphery of history, not the center of history. Again, I want to give you one striking example which I learned during my stay in Malaysia. And in those days, I decided to come to Sri Lanka as another good example where Buddhists are majority, Muslims are minority, and Hindus are living there together. You know, in 1990, as a young academician when I went to Malaysia, they asked me to teach history of political thought. I arrived Saturday, and the academic session started next week. I didn't have time to prepare a new curriculum. I prepared a course and went to the classroom. In my hand, I had a classical history of political thought. But when I entered the room, I was shocked. It was a good, positive cultural shock. Because in the lecture hall, there were students at least from different nations. Muslims, Chinese, Malay, Hindu, some from Africa, some from Asia. So even I had one student from Bolivia. And I took my book, Classical History of Political Thought. When I saw the classroom, I didn't give the name even. I said, I will give you my course outline next week. You know why? Because my textbook was starting with Greek philosophy, continuing with Roman Empire, then Christianity and medieval centuries, then Renaissance Reform, then the French Revolution, and modern ideologies. There was no single Chinese thinker in the book. There was no single Indian or Hindu background, Asian background. There was no single Muslim name except Averroes and Avicenna, the Latin version of Ibn Sina, Ibn Rushd. There was no African at all. I thought if I teach this book, it would mean I am brainwashing children of several nations that they don't have any role in the history. It means they will not be having any role in the future. I said, I cannot teach this book. I cannot follow this course outline. It might be meaningful in a European institute, but not here. You know what I did? As a student, I believe that all of us are students. You may be professor, you may be prime minister, minister, but in front of life, we are all students. I prepared a new course outline, starting with Chinese philosophy of state, Confucius, and all this tradition. Continued with Indian experience, taking certain parts from Upanishads, Rig Vedas, and history of India. Then coming to Greece, Iranian tradition, then Greece, Greek philosophy. Then Roman and Muslim philosophy, European philosophy, and post-colonial thinkers or politicians like Gandhi and other leaders like Iqbal from the Muslim world. Why I am giving this example? Multiculturalism is not only a term, but it is a way of life and a mentality. If you believe that history belongs only one nation, one continent, one religion, you cannot understand history. This is exclusivist approach. You have to be inclusive in order to be multicultural. You have to respect others if you want to be respected. So Sri Lanka was a good example. Unfortunately, in the modern education paradigm, even geography gives some impressions, some images in your mind. Usually in international relations courses, in military academy or other places as well, I was giving three maps to give an image of the world. One map is Atlantic-centric map, where the American continent is left, then Atlantic is center, Eurasia and Japan, Pacific right. In Malaysia and East Asia, especially in Japan, they made a small operation on map. They took the American continent to the right so that the image has changed. If you look at Atlantic-centric map, Britain is at the top and center as an island, and Japan is in the corner. If we push as if it will go out of the map. In the other map, Japan is at the center, Britain, both are islands of east and west of Eurasia, and Britain is in the corner. Interestingly, I found a map of New Zealand's airways map. New Zealand pool, they are in the corner and down. They produce a map that New Zealand is in the center, all the other geographies are around. Toynbee calls this egocentric illusion in his history. Sometimes you praise your ego, you in such a way that you are central and all the others are periphery. This is the mentality of, in fact, tension, the mentality of clash, because if you are center, all the others have to obey to you. If you are at the top, all the others should be lower caste. This world, this region especially, has many challenges, but throughout history, they learned how to live together. Sri Lanka might be seen for some people as a small island south of India. But if you look at 13th century, for example, all sea trade was going through Sri Lanka almost, from China to Africa and everywhere. And it was center of economic activities for centuries, like Bengal region was the main textile producing country. So the history is changing, but it depends how you interpret history. As an academician, I had special interest in this part of the world in order to have a new understanding of global culture. Global culture cannot be egocentric, cannot base on egocentric illusion. We have to have a new mentality where all cultures are part of it. Second reason why Sri Lanka, even those years, I had special interest. But second, I knew the historic relation between Turkey and Sri Lanka. Many people are not aware. But even Bakır Markar Foundation and I salute the legacy of M.A. Bakır Markar and also my son as well, Adil. He left a great legacy. They came from my homeland. You may not know it. So I am here as a guest of one of my relatives maybe, from 11th century. Their family background is from my hometown, Konya, Sheikh Cemalettin. The city of Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi, a man, a philosopher of peace, who said, whoever you are, Muslim or Christian, or other religions, come to my place. Our place is not a place of pessimism. Our place is a place of hope. And one of the main honorary consulate of Ottoman state in this part of the world was established in Sri Lanka in 1864. And it continued until we opened an embassy. And a ship, Ottoman ship, going to Japan in 1889 came to Sri Lanka and stayed here for some months, and all Sri Lankans welcomed Turkish seamen and soldiers. So we have a special. But for me, the historic change was in 2005. I was chief advisor to Prime Minister Erdogan then. And when tsunami happened, since we had earthquake history, we know what it means for the people. As chief advisor, I suggested to make a visit to the region. And we came with Prime Minister Erdogan to Indonesia, Aceh, Thailand, Malaysia, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. And we built a new village here for a Buddhist village, a new village to build. And we also rebuilt a temple and a mosque in neighboring region. There I felt the common destiny of two nations as well. Third, when I became Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs, we decided to open new embassies. Before we had in Africa only 12 embassies, for example. In my 5 years term, it increased to 39 embassies in Africa. And in South Asia, I said there will be no country without embassy, and the first country will be Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Laos, Brunei. And we opened, I am proud of this step. It was my term when we opened an embassy, and we sent my chief of protocol, Tunca Bey, to this beautiful country as first Turkish ambassador. And I can assure you, this embassy will be open till the end of history, if there will be an end of history, as a bridge between Turkey and Sri Lanka. Based on this background, coming to multiculturalism as a base, if you look at the history, empires, states, in all throughout the history, you can see one common characteristic. Three things always develop together: political order, economic prosperity and interdependence, and cultural coexistence. If in a political system, or in a state, or in an empire, there is no inclusive multicultural approach, that political entity cannot survive. Look, all the history of big empires in China, Alexander the Great, Roman Empire, Ottomans, when they were inclusive, Mughal, Babur emperors also in India, when they were inclusive and multicultural, they could survive. When they lost that inclusivity, they cannot survive. So there is direct relation between political stability and order and multicultural coexistence. This is the case throughout the history. But what happened in the last 25 years after the end of Cold War? Let me show you some sources of political crisis and its relation to absence of multicultural approach. Then I will mention the basic necessities of multiculturalism as a base of peace. When we look at 25 years after 1990, after the end of the Cold War, from that time until now, since earthquake, tsunami is well known by both of our nations, let me make an analogy of earthquake or tsunami. In earthquake or tsunami, there is a crisis. There should be some management of crisis afterwards. There should be some cautions you have to take before. We had 5 earthquakes in the last 25 years. All of them destroyed almost had a negative impact on multicultural coexistence. One was in 1991, geopolitical earthquake when Soviet Union collapsed. After the collapse of Soviet Union, several political crises did emerge. Still, those points are the points of frozen conflicts. For example, in Bosnia-Herzegovina, in Kosovo, in Nagorno-Karabakh of Azerbaijan and Armenia, in Moldova, several ethnic and religious conflicts, sectarian conflicts did emerge. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed. Yugoslavia dissolved, and only in Bosnia-Herzegovina, 250,000 people lost their lives. Why? Because of absence of multicultural consciousness. The extremist Serbs did not tolerate Bosniaks, attacked, and as you know, the ethnic clashes started. Second biggest earthquake after 9/11, security earthquake. Unfortunately, because of a terrorist attack in New York, a new era has started. It was basically a security-focused area, unlike 1990s, which was more democracy-oriented area. And in Iraq, in Afghanistan, new wars started, and today in Iraq, you can see that multicultural coexistence, which lasted for centuries, had destroyed. Multiculturalism is a sign, the basic sign is in city life. If a city has different multicultural characteristics, which I will come to that point, then it is the base for peace. But today, Baghdad is being divided between Sunni and Shiite neighborhoods. Mosul is being called a Sunni city. Erbil is called as Kurdish city. In fact, city means cosmopolitanism. You have to live with others together. So that also damaged multiculturalism in different parts of the world, and Islamophobia has started. On one side, extremist ideologies like Al-Qaeda, on the other side, Islamophobic tendencies started to rise. Third earthquake happened during economic crisis in 2008, when economic crisis, financial crisis started, then became economic crisis, then social crisis, and millions of people lost their lives. And because of economic crisis, migration has been accelerated towards Europe, basically, and that also created an issue of multiculturalism. Today, in Europe, there is a negative attitude towards other nations, other nationalities or communities of migrants. Why? Because economic crisis in every country had a negative impact on economic resources, and they don't want to share this. And refugee issue is today at the top of our agenda everywhere in the world. Refugee means multiculturalism, if you are dealing with it. Refugees will come not from your cities, will come from other cities. And whether you will tolerate it, and this is a humanistic approach, or you will not tolerate it, then there will be a clash. Fourth biggest earthquake was during Arab Spring. Maybe, of course, Sri Lanka is a little bit far from that geography, but in Turkey we felt it very closely. In fact, as Turkey, we felt almost all these earthquakes from inside. And 3 million Syrian refugees, only Syrian refugees, 3 million came to Turkey. I can tell you in some Turkish cities, like Kilis, neighboring city to Syria, migrant and refugees, Syrian refugees are more than authentic Turkish citizens. More. It is a city of around 150,000. Syrian refugees are more than Turkish citizens. How will you be approaching to them? Will you be seeing them as alien? So will you be closing your border? No, we cannot. Because these are, yes, the other side is Syria, our side is Turkey, but they are all relatives from the same tribe, from the same historic background. Even if they are not, how can we close the border? I was Minister of Foreign Affairs and later Prime Minister. Our opposition several times said, close the border. We always said, we will not close the border. We will not let people to die in front of us. Because we shared a common history, we shared a common geography. This also was a shock on multiculturalism. In Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, in several places, sectarian identities created division among people. New regions did emerge. Arab region, Kurdish region, Turkoman region, or Sunni, Shiite region, Christian region. They lived together for centuries, but they were separated. Fifth, especially this year, I am really very worried. Therefore, in last 3-4 days here, I had chance to meet with selected distinguished journalists, youth representatives, especially this morning I had a special session with, I was very impressed by youth of Sri Lanka. There were Muslims, of course Buddhists, Tamil, a mixed group. We had an excellent session of interaction. And this was a good message for me that Sri Lanka fortunately had a strong base of multiculturalism. A few days ago, when I was in Kandy, in a tea plantation with a great hospitality, I had chance to, with my family, to participate Perahara festival, Kandy Perahara. For hours we watched. It was a learning process for all of us, but at the same time, as Honorable Prime Minister mentioned, it was a mixture of Buddhist and Hindu symbols. Even you can see, you can observe during the ceremony, no religion has developed in isolation. And also I met with Mahanayaka Malbetta, and we told about Islam and Buddhism. This is the time to have a new mentality, to have a new approach to our religion, to other religions, to our culture, to other cultures. But to be frank, not only as a Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, but as an academician, even more important, as a human being, I am very worried for the future of our globe. When there were bans to certain citizens of Muslim countries, when there is a rising Islamophobia in Europe, when there is extremism is increasing among religious communities, we have to be much, much more careful, and we have to be ready for the new challenges. The main concept here, which I always underlined even when I was Prime Minister in international fora, especially in United Nations, inclusivity. Unfortunately today, we are missing inclusive structures, inclusive philosophy, inclusive social life. This is the main danger. Assume that, look at UN structure. Is it inclusive? Seemingly so. In UN General Assembly, all nations are there. But who are deciding for all the crises? UN Security Council. 5 members decides for everything, permanent members. They can block anything they want. The rest are there just to give a picture sometimes. Syrian regime used chemical weapons. There was no UN resolution. Around 1 million Syrians were killed until now. 3 million only refugee in Turkey. You can imagine which type of human disaster is this, but there is no single UN decisive decision by UN Security Council. That inclusivity starts from UN, but come till to the community level. What should we be doing as nations who are looking for peace? I want to conclude my speech by underlining 4 levels of multiculturalism as a base for peace. First level is community level. Community level. Second is national level. Third is regional level. Fourth is global level. On community level, the nucleus of social life, with your neighbors. How will you be acting with your neighbors? Your children, will they be seeing members of other religions or ethnicity, or will they be just in a unicultural atmosphere? For example, I am proud today, from one meeting to another meeting, I, of course, use traffic, and Colombo traffic is not as bad as Istanbul, but whenever it was slowing down, I was impressed, and this should be protected. Mosque, Buddhist and Hindu temples, and church in some places are next to each other. This is the secrecy of peace and multiculturalism. In Istanbul, for centuries, they lived together. And in many streets, today we don't have many Christians, many Jews living in Turkey. After First World War, unfortunately, there was like partition of India. There were mass movements and exchange of population. But Even if you go to Istanbul now, you will see mosque, synagogue, and church are next to each other, wall to wall. Assume that a child is growing. When he sees in the same street a Christian, if he is a Muslim, or if he is a Muslim, sees a Buddhist or Hindu, and play with his friends of same age, can he be enemy of another culture? The first thing we have to do is to protect multicultural neighborhood. Colombo should not be like Istanbul or other cities, should not be all other cities, should not be this is Muslim part, this is Buddhist, this is Hindu, Tamil, etc. We have to live together. We are all human beings. And in Quran al-Karim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Hujurat that we created you from a male and female, and we transformed you into tribes and nations so that you would know each other. Multiculturalism is something natural. I want to congratulate government of Sri Lanka and all those who contributed. In Kandy, on the way to Kandy, we had chance to visit botanic garden. My wife is doctor and she has special interest in phytotherapy. So we spent several hours in botanic garden. Excellent protection. I really admire how you protected this environment. Different types of trees, different type of flowers. Assume that the best flower is rose, best smelling flower, very nice looking. If there was only roses as flowers, would it be good for us or would it be boring for us? Even the best thing, if you have everywhere the same thing, it would be boring. Assume that you have a nice tree in one place and you want to have only that tree. Would there be such a rich botanic garden in Colombo? No. Richness is always in multiplicity. If there are different things in front of you and different tastes, even during lunch, we want to have different, or dinner, type of salads. Therefore, whoever looks for uniculturalism, that person is acting against nature, against creation. There will be differences. It is important how you are acting with differences. I have an interesting, we had an interesting experience that time. People told us later, when we built Buddhist village and Buddhist temple as Turkey, and they thought, the villagers, they are Muslims, so they want to thank, but there was no embassy, Turkish embassy, no other representative of Turkey at that time. We built they went to the neighboring Muslim country, Muslim village to thank that Muslims built this for us. They had a tension before. Because of these, their relation became better. Just important thing is villages should be next to each other. Cities should be protected. After I left my office, I wrote a book. In fact, I wrote when I was traveling as Minister of Foreign Affairs in plane. I wrote during that time. I published on cities and civilizations. All big civilizations had established multicultural cities. Without multicultural city, there cannot be civilization. This is communal level, face-to-face relation. Children should grow together. I met with some community leaders of Muslims here, and I suggested them there should be mixed schools. Muslims and Buddhists and Tamils, they should be in the same school so that then you can teach Quranic teaching or religious teaching parallel to this. That common school, like Adil, late Adil, he was so powerful and charismatic because he had interaction with several youngsters with his age. This morning I saw his friends from different religious background was praising him. This is a legacy. We have to have a special youth program, especially community level, to prepare them for the future. If we don't want to see tragedies like in Syria, like Myanmar, like Iraq, in Sri Lanka, or in Turkey or Malaysia, we have to have such a program. We will fight against terror, yes, but we will fight only terrorist groups, not the community. The community belongs to us. This country belongs to that community as well. This brings me to the second level, national level. Nation state is a modern artifact. It is good, but sometimes in traditional societies like here in subcontinent or in Turkey, it separated people from each other. For example, Greeks migrated from Turkey, Turks came to from Greece came to Turkey, etc. So more homogeneous state structure did emerge. But the concept, uniting concept, should be citizenship. There cannot be one language, one nation, country anywhere in the world. If you want to have, you have to go like Robinson Crusoe. You have to go to an island, live alone. It is your choice. But if you want to be in a society, you have to accept that there will be different languages, different cultures, different religions and sects. Otherwise, that national unity cannot be protected. Then the question is, who is nation? Who can call, I am the nation? If you are racist, fortunately there is no racist here, you will say, I am the nation, all the others must obey to me, like Hitler time, or like caste system, that they cannot involve anything. But if nation belongs to, means a cumulative consciousness of a people, then nobody can claim that they are nation and the others are the other. Nations belong to all citizens. Nobody can claim monopoly on national unity and identity. I want to give you one example from Turkey. In Turkey, of course, the name Turkish people, etc. But maybe it might be interesting for you to know, in Turkey we have more Bosniaks than Bosnia. We have more Albanian than Albania. We have more Georgian than Georgia. We have more Chechens than Chechnya. We have more Kurds than Iraq and Syria. So therefore, whenever there is any crisis in Iraq for Kurds, they are coming to Turkey. Whenever there was crisis in Bosnia, Bosniaks migrated to Turkey. From Chechnya, they came to Turkey, from everywhere, because they think that is my motherland. Are they all of them ethnically Turk? No. Bosniaks are Slavic people, Muslim origin, but throughout the history, the term Turk was not used for an ethnic group, but for all those who are living in Ottoman territories. All Muslims were called Turk. Even, it might be interesting for you, President of Argentina was called 20 years ago El Turco. You know why? He was a Christian migrant who came to Argentina from Lebanon when Ottoman state was there. And today in Latin America, there are people, El Turco. And when we opened new embassies in Latin America, I went there and I said, whoever feels El Turco, they are natural citizen of us, they can apply for citizenship. No problem for us. They are Christian, ethnically they are Arab, but they are called El Turco. It is not their choice. This is historic formations. Now, who can claim now in Sri Lanka, such an island for centuries became center of East-West trade, from China to Africa, from India to Indian Ocean, everywhere. Who can claim that I am the owner of this island? I am the only owner. No, all of you are owners. How can I claim as a Turk who came from Central Asia that Anatolia belongs to me, but not to Albanians? No. If that is such an argument, then who will be Americans? What does it mean, Americans? Where will they go back? If you ask Turks should go back to Asia, like some German racist, in Europe, some racist right-wing say Turks must go to Central Asia, leave Europe. Okay, then all of Germans, Franks, they also came from Asia. Nobody can prove that one land is being given to a nation. We should not forget that such a promised land concept of Israel has created so many war crimes against Palestinian people. Palestine belongs to Palestinians. If there are Jews living there, they are also a part of that land throughout the centuries. But if you claim this land is being given to me by God, by history, by nature, then the rest will be oppressed. National unity means all those who have citizenship identity to that particular country are equal. We had serious problem in Turkey because of this. Nationalism, patriotism is good, but it depends on how you define nation. If it is Sri Lankan nationalism, it is excellent. As Prime Minister mentioned, my dear colleague, that is a good news for the future. But if you say Sinhali nationalism, Muslim nationalism, Tamil nationalism as a way of separatism or division, then it is against national unity. So here, if you protect unity communal level, that is the only guarantee for national unity. This is the second. The third is, before going that, for citizenship, one another concept which I always refer is important, is sense of belonging. If there is no sense of belonging, even if you give citizenship, there will be a problem. Everybody should feel a sense of belonging to the nation, to the country. When I went to Myanmar, I realized that what it means. Some people say that we are living here for centuries, but some other people say, no, you are foreigners, you have to go somewhere. And the only way is, whoever is there, give a sense of belonging. This state, who wants to survive, this secrecy is inclusivity. Even if somebody is not from the religion of the majority, or from the ethnicity of majority, give a sense of belonging. Make them proud of being member of that nation. That is the only way to keep nation together. Not by weapons, by force. You can do it for some time, but later, there will be always problem. In Turkey also we faced, for example, in military regime in 1980s, Kurdish population, they were not allowed to listen Kurdish song. Can you imagine? Kurdish is there as a language, and state thinks that this is a threat to national unity. For them, national unity means everybody must forget other languages and accept one language. As Prime Minister, in my electoral campaign, I am a Turkish origin, but in my electoral campaign in cities where Kurdish citizens are more, I spoke in Kurdish. I addressed them in Kurdish, just to show everybody that Turkish and Kurdish, or Arabic and Bosniak, all languages must be respected. No language can be isolated. And I was the first Minister of Foreign Affairs, first minister visiting all Christian headquarters of Christian sects, Armenian Church, Greek Orthodox Church, Center, Cathedral. We wanted to show that, yes, I am a Muslim, and I am proud of being Muslim. Nobody can challenge to my identity. But as Prime Minister or Minister of Turkey, I am Minister of all religions and all sects, all ethnicities. This is the sense of belonging. I remember in Germany when I visited an Assyrian church in 2012, when I was Minister of Foreign Affairs. They were so happy. They said, First time a minister came from our old country. They were migrants to Germany. I said, something is wrong here. Turkey is not your old country. Turkey is your country, will continue to be your country forever. You may left, but this is the fact. This is strength of the people, strength of the country. Assume that I have some friends here who lost their Sri Lankan citizenship and became citizens of Britain or other countries, I know. But they are assets of Sri Lanka. They should be having that sense of belonging. Third level, which I learned in practice in last 20 years around Turkey, is that without regional multiculturalism, it is difficult for you to protect national multiculturalism. For example, when I say regional, Middle East. After Syrian crisis, we realized in Turkey you cannot have a peaceful atmosphere based on multiculturalism if there is an oppressive regime next to you. In Syria, regime is in the hand, army, intelligence, in the hand of a minority, 12% sectarian minority, controlling 85% of all high positions in the system. We realized why 3 million people escaped to Turkey, because they felt insecure when the army came to their territories. Nobody should feel insecure. So for this, especially in the regions like Middle East, like South Asia, Southeast Asia, where several religions, ethnicities, sects are living together for centuries, regional context is as important as national context. If Buddhists and Muslims are fighting, let's say in Myanmar or in other, it will affect your psychology here. Same, if there is a good example, it will affect others. Therefore, I always use in this part of the world, Malaysia and Sri Lanka as two good examples, where I don't want to use even the term minority, communities integrated to the system, to economy. These good examples has to be spread. Regional context, relation between Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, or as historically, common geography and history, and Sri Lanka, and up to Thailand, all these regions, if there is a regional peace, that will affect national unity, positive sense. If there is a regional tension, the communal sense of insecurity might create tensions. The responsible statesman would not provoke any ethnic or sectarian extremism or identity against the other. All those who made this in the past, at the early stage, they seemed they were successful, like Milosevic in Serbia, but later their end was not good, or Saddam in Iraq. There should be this regional context. Lastly, communal, national, regional, these are all important as multicultural for base, but global multiculturalism is important. I want to come back to first part of my speech. If there is a hegemonic understanding of one culture is superior than the other cultures, one religion has more right to say the truth, one race has the right to control everything, such an approach in global sense will create more and more tension. Why did we have apartheid? Why Nelson Mandela has risen up? Why Gandhi and other in Turkish War of Independence as well, Atatürk and other national leaders tried to protect their countries against this type of hegemonic approach. All of us, we are equal human beings. Therefore, we always refer to reformation of UN system. G20 should address to the economic problems of injustice in Africa. Therefore, as good example, I want to say, when we chaired G20 meeting, same time we were chairing the least developed countries summit meeting, LDC. 47 least developed countries all over the world. If we have a gap, such a huge gap of economic injustice, then how can you have a peace? If you think that your race, your nation, your country should have more share from the resources in the world as a natural right, then how can be there a global peace? One of my let me say, sad experience, still I remember, was our trip to Somalia in 2011, when babies were dying in the street because of hunger and absence of water. And after 20 years, first time an airplane landed to Mogadishu airport, 2 airplanes, our airplane, Prime Minister's, and I was minister, and we took our wives, we invited Turkish elite of journalists, artists to be with us, and we went to Somalia, just to show solidarity with Somalian people, just to get attraction. For 20 years, Mogadishu airport was not used. Therefore, we had a small accident when we landed. But it was a shocking experience when small babies were dying in the street. And in less than 1 year, maybe 6 months, we cleaned all the roads in Mogadishu. We prepared new infrastructure. And every year in our national budget, there was a special assistant part for Somalia. Until now, it continues. Why? Because if Somalia is in such a situation, or another country, how can you mention on global order, global justice, and global multicultural coexistence? What we need today in international relations is an extensive reformation of the logic of international relations and the philosophy of international relations before any other diplomatic initiative. There is a new world emerging, not by our will. And the international structures, UN, IMF, World Bank, all the others, which were established after the Second World War, cannot carry the responsibilities of today. Technology is moving very fast. And through technology, races are, in fact, interacting by internet and social media. You can easily motivate people for good things and bad things. It is up to us how we will be using this technology. And multicultural social media is increasing. There is a need of a new global order based on a new international political order, a new economic order, and a new, more important, a new cultural order. And the concept of this should be inclusivity. From a village of Sri Lanka, to the nation of Sri Lanka, to the geostrategic neighborhood, regional neighborhood of Sri Lanka, up to global system, there is a need of a new mentality. And young people like Adil, they are, in fact, they will be building. Adil is not with us today, but I am sure the spirit is with us, Brother Imtiaz. And I am grateful to Bakr Marker Foundation, both grandfather M.A. Bakr and grandson Adil. They work for the same cause, peace based on multiculturalism. And today, even this meeting, which I see different segments of Sri Lankan society here with us, is a success of this legacy. I hope this legacy will be protected, and I hope Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, or Christians, all of them will live together peacefully in Sri Lanka, in South Asia, and everywhere in the world. Again, thank you very much for this invitation and giving me this opportunity to meet with excellent people of Sri Lanka. Thank you very much. Istuti.